Hello, everyone. Today I'm joined by somebody who has reshaped the way dental practices think about the patient experience. Dr. David Moffet is internationally recognised for helping dentists create practices that patients love to visit and happily refer their family and friends to. I'm partnering with Dr. David for a special seminar in May 2026 where he'll be sharing the systems, strategies, and mindset shifts that turn everyday practices into high performing, patient centric businesses. In this conversation, we're going to explore what attendees can expect, why customer service is the most overlooked growth lever in dentistry, and how a few simple changes can transform both your practice and your enjoyment of dentistry. David, it's great to have you here.
Mark, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, very good. You've helped literally hundreds of practices transform their patient experience. What are the biggest changes attendees can expect to make in their own practices after this seminar?
Mark, really good question. Most dentists, I believe, think that the best way to grow their practices are these two ways. One is to do more courses primarily on clinical skills, and the second is to do more marketing. The problem with these solutions that they have in their minds are these. Firstly, I've seen plenty of good, highly skilled dentists spending tens of thousands of dollars on clinical courses and never implementing those newly learned skills in their practices. And even when they do implement them, their patients don't know they can do these treatments because they don't tell the patients about them. So they're only doing them very sporadically, if at all. The same thing happens with marketing. Dentists spend lots of money on SEO, AdWords, and websites that create a lot of new patient inquiries for the practice, and yet the team aren't trained in handling the phone. They're not trained in handling the inquiries. And in some practices I've seen, none of the staff even know what's on the practice website. Like, that's just burning money in both those instances. So if they leave my part of the seminar with that thought that there is a better way and the way of the masses is not the best way, then I think I'll have done my job.
Excellent. Thanks, David. Well, that leads on to my second question. Many dentists already think they're very good at customer service. What blind spots do you consistently see when you work with practice owners?
Mark, the biggest blind spots I see in dental practices with customer service implementation is that practices have no systems. Sure, they say please and thank you, but unless there's a system that works 100% all of the time, there will always be failures and there will always be leakages. At this seminar that we're putting on, I'll highlight two of the most important systems that dentists can take back to their practices and start implementing immediately to create instant improvements that last and last and last.
Excellent. Thank you. You talk a lot about creating a patient experience that drives loyalty and referrals. What practical strategies will attendees walk away with that they can implement the very first day back in practice?
Mark, one of the big things I'm going to share at this seminar is I'm going to share a simple 5-point checklist that they can implement immediately. I think the seminar's on a Saturday. They can start implementing it on the Monday, and this will dramatically improve their patient bookings, and it will dramatically decrease their cancellations, their reschedules, and their no-shows. And we know that by doing that, that takes a lot of pressure off the practice. If we've got patients making appointments that they're keeping rather than cancelling, and then we have to chase other patients to fill those gaps, that puts a lot of pressure on the practice. It's a system that's worked in my practice, and it's worked successfully in hundreds of practices that I've coached all around the world. So we know that this works, and it's simple. It's just 5 points.
Excellent. Excellent. I can hardly wait to find out what those 5 points are. For dentists who feel overwhelmed or understaffed, how can improving customer service actually reduce stress and make the practice run more smoothly, make the dentist's day more enjoyable?
Mark, good question. Have you got a couple of hours while I explain this simply?
I'll give you 2 minutes.
The simple thing about implementing customer service systems in your dental practice is that it costs very little compared to marketing, and it's also fun to do. In fact, when we started doing it properly in my practice, it was the internal coaching that we did was some of the most enjoyable coaching sessions. Team members were laughing, tears of laughter down their faces. It was good fun for everybody as we built our own customer service manual. The trouble is that people worldwide, not just in dentistry, not just in work environments, but they get into bad habits, not because they're bad people, but because they're either overwhelmed or they can get sloppy with their systems. I'll explain through
Hmm.
my presentation several problems that dental practices have that are the end of a chain reaction of either overwhelm or of sloppy, and how addressing and fixing the root cause way back can create better results for the patient and for the practice.
Very good. Very good. David, you've built a reputation for turning ordinary practices into high performing patient centric businesses. What mindset shifts do you hope attendees will experience during the seminar?
Mark, this is a really easy one to answer because I've always been a believer in the statement that if it has been done, it can be done again. Now, that might not
Hmm.
work for me if I wanted to run a sub 10-second 100 meters like Usain Bolt, but to be
Hmm.
successful in business, all you need to do is find someone who has achieved the results that you're looking to achieve and have them teach you to do the things that they did. It's that easy. And
Yep.
then you've got to do those things. All right. But that's how easy it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Excellent stuff. Tell me, if somebody is sitting on the fence about attending, they're not quite sure, what would you say is the single most valuable outcome that they're going to come away with at the end of the day with you?
Mark, I think if somebody's sitting on the fence, and there's a lot of people who are sitting on the fence, they have to realize this fact. You and I are both successful doers of what we now teach and coach. You know, we've done it. What we teach and coach worked for us, and it's also worked for hundreds of dentists, probably thousands of dentists now, because we've been teaching and coaching combined over 30. That should be enough
Hmm.
proof that what we're going to teach at this seminar will work for them. The other thing that is really important that dentists need to know is that we're not non-dentists teaching dentists, and there's plenty of those people who come into the dental marketplace. Certainly that can be a success, but it's a rarity. And they say you've got to have played the game to coach the game. And you and I have a
Hmm.
successful track record. Between us, we've had over 70 years private practice experience. We're both retired from clinical dentistry in our 50s because we were able to. And as dental educators, as I said, we've had over 30 years of experience as educators. Together, you and I are going to share a truckload of pearls of wisdom. And that's really important because when people implement the stuff that we're going to teach them, it will have an immediate effect for the better on their practices. Who wouldn't want that? Why wouldn't you come
Yeah.
along? Why wouldn't you spend a day in May in Melbourne and come and see us and go home with a bucket load of tools that you can implement on Monday and be more successful?
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, David. So, David, before we close, there's one other question I've got for you. And that is, if I'm an employee dentist, I may think, well, the systems and the way the practice runs and the customer service, that's up to the boss. I want you to talk about that and say why employee dentists, people who don't really own the practice, are still going to get tremendous value out of what you teach.
Mark, really good question because, I was an associate dentist before I bought my practice, and I was also an associate dentist after I sold my practice for a few years. And I know the importance that you are able to run your own style of practice within a an existing practice within your treatment room, and it all comes down to the fact that people like you and people respect you, and they value your opinion. And as you know, and as you're teaching, it's all about trust and likability. And so that's really important. If you are trustworthy and your patients perceive you as trustworthy and you are a likable person and you can communicate with people well, then you can run a successful practice of your own as an associate within an existing practice. We've all seen it, Mark. You and I have been around long enough to know where there are practices where people say, oh, you don't want to go and see the old bloke. Go and see they've got a new young dentist there. He's
Yeah.
much nicer, much better, and he's gentler. And even my neighbouring dentist in my practice, who then came to work for me when I bought his practice when he retired, he said that people used to say about him, don't go and see his father because his father's a butcher, but he's much gentler. So it's as simple as that. You can build your own reputation and have your own successful practice. If somebody comes to our seminar and takes away the things that you teach them of how to speak in terms of case acceptance and in terms of systems of customer service, if you get to work as an associate with the same dental assistant each time, each day, and not a different one every day, you will build a consistent Batman and Robin team in your practice that where you work well as a pair, and the patients will value that. So yes, anything's possible for an associate dentist, and that's easy. That's an easy one to answer. So thank you for asking me.
All right. Thank you, David. That's all I have for you. Excellent.